we got to hear from Norman Powell for the first time since signing with the Chicago Bulls, as the signing was just made official on Saturday. And with that, this signing comes down to about more than just scoring. Norman Powell wants to come in and help provide leadership, structure, accountability, and he actually wants to help this young Bulls roster know how to win. Norman Powell spoke openly about wanting to be a vocal leader for this team and why the NBA should not count out the Chicago Bulls. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to talk about Caleb Wilson and the way that he's developed his shot over the summer already, with taking over 2,000 shots per day. We're going to talk about that and what that means for how you can expect him to develop over his NBA career. We're going to get into that, plus the mailbag, right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So, listen, I know that a lot of Bulls fans are excited, and I'm very excited about this team as well. And the more that we hear from the way that this team is built and the more that we see, you kind of see why there is a actual vision for that. And that's really the thing, like, for me to be overly excited about, is that we have a front office that actually has a vision and is going out there and executed it in a way that is meaningful. It's tangible, right? You can see how the pieces fit together. And so with that, we got Norman Powell. Of course, the signing was made official over the course of the weekend, and we got Norman Powell being interviewed for the first time since that went on. On Saturday, he met with reporters for the first time, and he was asked about a litany of things between, you know, why he came to the Chicago Bulls, what he wants his Bulls team to do. And let's go ahead and get into some of those quotes. Number one, this is an opportunity for me that I've always wanted. I've always wanted to be a vocal leader. I've always wanted to lead by example. This is the perfect opportunity for me to do that. My overall experience, knowledge of the game, on court, helping them find their own path. Everybody is super young. I think I'm the only 30-plus-year-old on the team. So just helping guide them, giving them as much knowledge that I've gotten and received over the years through vets that I've had, just helping them focus on the details of their game and how to improve and how we can improve and winning and play winning basketball every single night. Let's stick there, right? We got some other things that we're going to get into with Norman Powell. But, you know, just hearing that Norman Powell wanted to come here. Now, I know if a player signs with a team, you always hear about, oh, yeah, this is always where I wanted to come be, right? Like, it's always going to be that. But the Bulls had a need for the things that Norman Powell is going to bring to the scene. Whether Norman Powell went into free agency expecting to join a young team, or you went into free agency, you know, expecting to get paid, whatever it is, right? It's not like he came here to play for free. The Bulls are also paying him to do that. You know, at 33 years old, he is the oldest player on this team. That's it. The next player that's even close to his age is Zach Collins at 28 years old. And so Norman Powell has an opportunity where he is that vet. And we've seen the importance of this before, right? Thad Young coming to the Chicago Bulls later on in his career and being a guy that, you know, while didn't have the biggest impact on the floor as far as each and every night statistically, we know that the lessons that he helped that team learn, right? And the veteran leadership that he brought to that team. And Norman Powell is one of those guys that, you know, like I said, his NBA journey is so unique in of itself, right? Somebody who was drafted 46th overall, you know, was on a championship team, did play a big role on that championship team too, was a late bloomer in the NBA, right? You talk about him, he didn't have his first double-digit scoring season until 5 years into the league. Then he didn't have his first 20-point per game scoring season until almost a decade into the league. So, you know, it's just those type of things that you look at, like, and Powell has consistently gotten better. And he's had to be one of those guys that had to fight and earn and scrap for minutes, going from playing 14 minutes per game as a rookie, only starting 24, to being a 30-plus minute guy at certain points of his career. So Powell is the type of guy that you want to, because he's shown the fight, the determination, the grit that it takes to get to the NBA. And so, yeah, now he has that opportunity that the guys are going to be looking for him on how to win. And that's going to be part of this Bull story. Like, one of the things, I know that you have your people, you have your doubts about how many games this team's going to win and whatever else, but I think overall, like, this season is about learning how to win, right? So this team may very well win 30, 32-ish games. And that may come down to maybe early in the season that they're losing a lot of games in the fourth quarter because you have to learn how to win. But then you start winning some of those, which then puts you on a much better spot going into the next season, right? Those are the things that you have to get into that. And it's those lessons that Norman Powell's bringing that he's going to be able to help this team learn. And then he talked about this off the court, helping them navigate life as a professional. As I said, everyone is super young, so there's a lot of stuff being thrown at them and still trying to understand the responsibilities of the league, what they have to do to stick and stay. So helping them build, find the interest off court. Overall opportunity is there other places and things like that, but going somewhere that values you and knows your worth and wants to work with you is really important. I'm just really excited about coming to the city and a new chapter and just being a part of something that can be very special. I know people are probably counting us out and saying that we're going to be a playing team or bottom of the conference, but I think that we'll be able to shock and surprise some teams this year. And that echoes sentiments that we've heard, possibly from this team. This team is going to compete every single night. And Tiago Splitter, as a developmental head coach, there are going to be some rough times, but those rough times could lead to the right lessons that this team needs to learn to get over that hump and to start being a more consistent winning team. Seeing that, it's been a long time since we got to really see that process for a fully young team, right? Now, like I said, even when DeMar and Lonzo and Alex Caruso came here and we were winning, it wasn't like it was a bunch of young guys that was hugely important to that. Io and Kobe were relegated to bench roles. Patrick Williams was injured a lot that season. Even when he came back, it's not like he was a big part of the offense and stuff like that. You're seeing that even though Norman Powell, a vet, is probably going to be our go-to scorer in a lot of ways, or go out and get a bucket guy, but so much of this team is going to be led by young players under the age of 24 between Modest Buzelis, Caleb Wilson, Josh Giddey, being in that rotation as well. Getting to see the growth of guys like Leonard Miller also on this team and the opportunity that's going to be there for them. And even though he's not a player that I'm super excited about, Rob Dillingham, if he can be another player that can start finding his groove and finding his path in the NBA, those things start happening. You'll start seeing the Bulls go from, like over a 5-year span from one of the older teams in the league to one of the younger teams in the league, and meaningful youth on that team. Hell, you look at Josh Giddey. I know a lot of people, especially the Josh Giddey haters, like to talk about how long he's been in the league, but he's 23 years old. He's 23 years old. There were rookies coming into the season that were older than Josh Giddey that were just in the draft. So even Josh still has development and learning and refinement of his game that he can do. So you look at just like, let's just look at the important players on this team that are all under 25, right? Josh Giddey, 23. Leonard Miller, 22. Rob Dillingham, 21. Modest Buzelis, 21. Dailyn Swain, 20. Caleb Wilson, 19. Noa Essengue, 19. Like, you have so many young players on this team. And you have now veterans that help provide the structure that's going to be there for their growth. And you have a coach as well, and Tiago Splitter, that's going to be here for the growth of these players and what they're trying to do. So I think this is it. Like, while Norman Powell isn't probably here for a long time, and that's perfectly fine, he can help now. He can mentor now. Everything that he provides on the basketball court are things that we actually need right now for these young players to help provide that structure that they can that they can develop in, right? And so hearing these things from him is good. Hearing why he chose Chicago, it really stood out as well, saying that he saw the opportunity, the value, and a young team that he can impact, and the fact that he's wanted to be a vocal, like, some people welcome those roles later in their careers. Like, no, I want to have the opportunity to take young guys under my wing. I want to have my rooks that I can help develop and stuff like that. And his role on the court is going to be very simple. Shoot, attack closeout, score without dominating the ball, which is something he's already good at. Play off Josh Giddey, take pressure off Modest Buzelis and Caleb Wilson. And like I said, like if Caleb and Modest also make that next step as a three-point shooter, and no, Caleb Wilson showed a lot of that in the first Summer League game, but if he shows that in his rookie year, the shooting woes of the Chicago Bulls that we all kind of projecting, that we all rightfully so are a little bit worried about, it may not be as big of a deal as the season goes on, right? And so Norman Powell, already with one interview with media since the signing's been official, has already set a tone of exactly what he wants to bring to this team, and also that following that tone of, listen, don't count us out to win some games this year. You expecting us just to be a bottom team? We're going to see about that. And that's that Chicago mindset. That's the Chicago mentality. That's what you want to have to do in regard to that. And let's see. Another interview that happened over Summer League as well is, of course, Caleb Wilson. He's been interviewed a number of times since his Summer League debut game, and a lot of things have stood out about that. One, I love the fact that he said, "Hey, maybe if if I was used more as a shooter in UNC, I may not be in Chicago." Meaning that, hey, I probably could have been drafted much higher if teams realize that I can actually shoot that thing, right? So like that's the thing that stands out in that. But also, you heard that Caleb Wilson saying that, listen, I've been taking over 2,000 shots. Like I've been working on my shot. I've been putting in that work to get that. And so it's been a lot of think pieces now on Caleb Wilson, and already a number of things have changed on how people really do view his ceiling because of the work that he put in, and how that shot that everybody was worried about, everybody was talking about, was something that, like, listen, and I'm somebody that I said when we were drafting, I'm like, people are overblowing that he can't shoot. It's just that he's an inconsistent three-point shooter, but he can create his own shot in the mid-range. And even now, that looks like underestimating him, and me saying that statement, right? But him joking that he's glad that he didn't get to shoot because now that helped him be to Chicago, we just keep hearing, like, everything about Caleb Wilson's offseason, everything about this draft process has shown that Caleb Wilson wanted to be a Chicago Bull. And for whatever reasons, all that is, right? I know he posted the video of him in Bulls gear when he was a younger kid, all that type of stuff. But the reality is that you have somebody that wanted to wear the Chicago Bulls jersey. And you have some, like the clip that came out of him and Derrick Rose asking what he's willing to sacrifice, right? Like it's those type of moments that it's aura, right? As the young people will say, it's aura. But I think it's something real in how Caleb Wilson views himself, how he views the game of basketball, and how he has a legitimate desire to just be great at playing this game of basketball. And like I said, the fact that he wanted to do it in a Chicago Bulls uniform, it is easy for any player to say, like, yeah, I would have been happy with whoever drafted me. And not to say that he wouldn't have been too, but like he wanted to be in Chicago. And so I think that also comes with a different level now of expectation. You wanted this. You said that you knew, like the interview, the pre-draft workout interview that came in, it's like, hey, I'm a dog. Like I welcome those type of things. Like he's saying all the right things. And even in that first Summer League game, you see the mindset of a player that does want to be great in this. And I can't separate how much that really separates, players that have potential from players that realize that potential. One thing that I always talk about, and not even to bring him up to shit on him, is that Patrick Williams, the thing that we kind of all, I think as Bulls fans, realize that Patrick Williams is a very talented player. But it doesn't seem like he has that grit, he has that determination, he has that drive to really maximize on that skill set that he has. And thus, because of his passive nature, he's kind of just been forgotten about. And he may very well find himself forgotten about and out of the rotation for the Chicago Bulls, right? But Caleb Wilson doesn't have those issues. He doesn't have that problem. He's going to go out there and put in that work. And that was all brought together as well by him saying that he's been taking over 2,000 shots a day to get that together. This is what he said in regards to his three-point shooting. Probably like 2,500 or 2,000 shots a day for 2 months. It's not any changes or anything like that. You get more confidence because you're putting in more work. But there is nothing that I'm changing. And he did need to. We all knew that the shot mechanics for Caleb Wilson were really good shot mechanics. And that was one thing even through the draft process that the draft experts pointed out about him. It's like, it's not like the mechanics are broke. It's not like he has this shot that you're looking at that's like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, where you're looking at him like, damn, he's probably never going to be a good shooter because the mechanics are just off. He has excellent mechanics on that shot. That's always something that you try to look at. That's why with Modest getting back to his high school shot after they try to change his shot, right? Like those type of things that you see that if you have good mechanics on the shot, teams can work with that. And that echoes Bryson Graham's sentiments as well, where he's like, I can teach a player to shoot. My question is how their drive, their determination, those type of things. And so Wilson now coming in and eventually, right? I don't know how much of that's going to happen in his rookie year. Again, that's not a knock on him. That's just knowing how rookie seasons go, how much he's going to come in and be the tone setter every single day as a rookie. But eventually you're looking at Caleb to be the number one guy on this team. And he's shown everything that's the right type of mentality, the right type of drive, the right passion, and the desire to be one of those to be a number one guy on a winning team. Now we get to see the fun part is we get to watch him develop it. And I know there's a lot of fans that quote unquote call themselves fans out there that typically like to hate on whatever the Bulls do. They just doubt whatever the Chicago Bulls do. Caleb Wilson is one of those guys that I think almost instantly, and there's still holdouts because it's Summer League, and it should be. Wouldn't even, if everybody all of a sudden turned their mind because of one Summer League game, I'd say that you were never really real in the reality of it, right? But if once we see Caleb Wilson on a NBA basketball court and we see that dog mentality, we see the two-way capability, we see him going out there not shying away from the big moments and taking the big shots, those type of things, it's going to be very hard to not continue to believe in who Caleb Wilson is as a player, because this is a guy that he screams what we appreciate about players in Chicago, and he has that star level upside. So now the chance that he has to turn that around, we'll see. Another Summer League game's going down tonight. Of course, we will be live probably for the game. I know I said I wasn't going to do any more lives. I wasn't planning on doing live streams during Summer League games, but I think Caleb Wilson and the difference that he makes is warranted, and you're already seeing how Bulls fans are getting very excited about what he can turn into. And so, hey, let the change come. So 8 p.m. Chicago time, the Chicago Bulls are taking on the Utah Jazz. It's going to be Caleb Wilson, Dailyn Swain, Noa Essengue against Darren Peterson. He's going to be on that Utah Jazz team. Let's go out there and see what happens, because I can't wait to continue to call, and I'm blessed to be able in this position to see somebody like Caleb Wilson come to my team, and let's see how they develop. But with that said, we got some overflow from the mailbag on the weekend. We got 3 voicemails to get into. Let's go ahead and get to this first one. This first one's from Stephen.
Yo, what's good, Haize? This is Stephen. I personally thought, you could do no wrong with the top 4 picks, so I'm not even going to comment about that too much. I think I know what the Bulls, we all know what we have in Caleb Wilson. I more want to talk about that number 15 pick, Dailyn Swain, and I think I'm a little bit more high on Dailyn than most are. I know a lot of people want a car at that spot. I think maybe even you, including yourself, saw a car there at first. But I'm high on Dailyn Swain. I think you can, I think more easily find and teach shooting rather than, 6'7", two-way player who has, the ceiling to play make, to defend and et cetera, et cetera. So I think Dailyn's ceiling's a little bit higher, so I'm high on him. I think obviously don't want to overreact to Summer League, but on top of, Bulls fans wanting Carr to start with and Dailyn's first game, and on top of what Carr has done so far in his games with the Lakers, it's just adding more fuel to that fire for, the shade towards Dailyn. But I don't think people realize what he had on his plate to start with. Playing the point guard position, which is not a position he's used to playing, bringing the ball up the floor, initiating the offense. On top of that, you're playing the Grizzlies, who probably has the best defense in the Summer League. This Summer League probably. An experienced team, a lot of NBA experienced guys. And then his personal defensive matchup was Cedric Howard, who was, in the running for Rookie of the Year, so he's a great NBA player and has great potential. That's his first year with the Grizzlies last year. So I think he, as in Dailyn, had a lot stacked up against him. So I don't want to fret too much, but, tell me if I'm tripping. I've heard your takes on Dailyn, and you've had pretty good, solid takes as far as, tempering expectations. But, I still, in hindsight, still would take him at that 15th spot. I think he was, to me, one of the best guards in this first round, outside of, Darren Peterson and whatnot. So I still would take him at that 15th spot. I'm still have high hopes for him, but, just let me know what are your thoughts on that so far again. But loving the podcast, man. I'm a recent Chicago transplant, so this is my first city I've lived in with major sports, and was looking to get tapped into the Bulls and came across your podcast, man. I've been loving the content, so keep going. Peace.
I'm with you on Dailyn Swain. Like I think he's going to be very solid. Now, I don't know if he ends up being a career starter. I don't know that, right? But Dailyn Swain as a basketball player gives you a lot of the things that you look at that's repeatable. He's a downhill scorer that can score in isolation, and teams need that. You look at a team like the Detroit Pistons. They needed another on-ball creator and scorer. They needed that, right? The Charlotte Hornets needed that as well, which they got rid of LaMelo Ball. We'll see how they continue to doing that. So you've seen that, and Dailyn Swain has a chance to do that. I love the fact that they brought Norman Powell in here, because you don't need to rush that development of Dailyn Swain. You already are probably going to be starting Caleb Wilson in there, so now you can bring Swain a little bit more slowly, right? And if by the end of this first year, he can make Norman Powell expendable, or you can put Norman Powell on the bench. But the goal is by the end of Norman Powell's 2-year contract, if he sees all that out with the Bulls, either Dailyn Swain or we've acquired somebody else that looks like they can develop into that permanent starting two guard for the Chicago Bulls. If those things happen, then we're on the right path. We're in the right situation that we need to be in, and that's all you can really take away from that. So I'm not down on Dailyn. I know some people are. I know some people like to make comps to him and Dailyn Terry, like I see some people doing. I think he's going to make people eat those words in the long run. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Reginald.
Hey, this is Reginald. I'm just calling to respond to the Bulls Summer League game. I saw better than expected with Caleb Wilson, and I'm happy to see that. I'm not worried about Noa Essengue. I think his second half pretty much tells you what he's really about. He's the guy who's probably going to give you anywhere between 10 and 12 points a game. Once again, at least 10 rebounds from the power forward position in his probably third year, and that's what I want from him. I don't need him to be some superstar. I need him to be able to do his job, play really good defense, and, be a team player, make smart moves. I hope he can have a career like Marcus Camby. Of course, you got to put on more weight. Of course, you got to get more used to the guys, give him a point guard to play with. That Summer League game would have been a lot different if he had a point guard. Him and Caleb probably would have done even better. But this is one of the problems that I saw in the offseason for the Bulls was that they didn't have any young depth at the point guard and center position. That's why I wanted them to take Quentin with the 15 pick, and that's why I was hoping they get either Jaden Bradley or Braden Smith with the 38 pick. But, it is what it is. So I'm happy to see them, those guys back on the court. I'm happy to see them getting better throughout the game, not just, from the start. But hopefully the Bulls are scouting around other teams, after free agents, looking to see if there's a point guard center available. Malik Williams can't play another game for the Bulls. He can't even be allowed in the arena. That was terrible. I don't care what people say about it when they look at his box score. They think he had a good game. He did not. He played terrible. At this point, I'm done with anybody named Williams playing on the Chicago Bulls. But thanks for hearing me out. What's your opinion on whether or not Noa Essengue is going to be able to start for the Bulls in year 3?
Noah's best chance to earn minutes, you're right, is defensively, making an impact defensively first for sure, right? Those are the type of things. The Bulls need players who can switch and guard multiple positions. Noa Essengue has the opportunity to be that player for the Chicago Bulls, and then just let the offense naturally come. Go fight in transition, cut to the basket, move, that type of thing. We have the guards that are going to be able to get you your ball, but let's make sure that we make an impact defensively first. That's what it needs to happen too. I'm not really worried about Noa Essengue in that point because I think what he needs to do is like, all right, either you're bringing it or you're not. And if you're not, that's on you at this point. As far as, point guard depth, I'm not really worried about it. We got Josh Giddey, we got Trey, two really good setup point guards as well. Trey's really efficient with the ball. He doesn't turn the ball over. And then even Rob Dillingham as a third point guard. Like, I'm not the highest. Y'all know I'm not the highest on Rob Dillingham. But as a third point guard, I mean, I don't think he's not going to kill your team at that. So I think we're fine there. Depth at center could be more of a concern, right? Because you have Zach Collins as your backup. He's usually very injured. And so trusting him could be a little bit worrisome, right? But outside of that, I think that, and you got Jalen, too, who can play some backup center. So I think we could be okay with the center long term. Now, you're not going to have young players at every position backing you up. It's not going to be the reality of it. Not everybody in your team is going to be 25 and younger, even if that's your main core. So, we'll see what the Bulls can do. Maybe Nic Claxton does show himself to be the starting center of a long time. And then at that point, a backup, you can find backup centers. There's a lot of backup centers around the league. All right, let's get into this last voicemail, man. This one's from Shay.
What's up, Haize? I watched the Summer League game. You can't base too much off of that. Yeah, that's true. But one thing I would do, when it comes to Noa Essengue, I would look for him to be my lockdown defender at the small forward position. Now, look, I know that he's a skinny person, but that's why I want him. That's what I kind of want him to do. I want him to be the lockdown defensive player off the bench, kind of like Rodney Brewer was a little bit. I know he's talented than Rodney Brewer, but as of right now, I don't know where his offensive game is right now. So just have him to be that spark play defensively coming off the bench, defensive-wise. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know where his offensive game is necessarily. But he could be better when playing with Trey Jones and Josh Giddey. Who knows? As for Caleb Wilson, did good in summer league. I believe he's gonna do decent to the NBA once he gets used to it. But right now, I would consider playing him at the 3 and slowly but surely let him gradually get to the 4, because let's face it, man. I mean, although Caleb Wilson is talented and he is a good defender, he is a little bit skinny compared to a lot of these guys that have that grown man strength in the NBA. So what I'm going to do, so if I was Chicago Spinner, have Modest play the 4 for right now, and just until Caleb Wilson, you know, either fills out his frame or slowly but surely shows us that he can play the power forward spot. Look, I know a lot of people are excited about this summer league game, and I am too. It was very entertaining, but we can't base that off of one summer league game, summer league period. Another thing, all y'all fans are saying that Swain is the new point guard of the future. Just remember something. Even a star like James Harden realized that he needed a point guard beside him. Even a guy like, and I'm not comparing them to Dailyn, but even Tyreke Evans, as good of a playmaker as he is when he got to the NBA, he recognized that, hey, I'm not a pure point guard. I could do some good playmaking, but, hey, I need that primarily ball handler. Just because it's a skill doesn't necessarily mean it's a position that I can play. Anyway, man, tell me what you think. Peace.
I don't think it really matters who plays the 3 or the 4 between Caleb. And I know that Caleb Wilson's going to have to put on some weight, but defense isn't just about size. Like, we've seen players be able to use length over players that are a little bit stronger than them. You just have to be a smart defender. I think Caleb Wilson is a really smart defender in that as well. And we're going to switch a lot more between Claxton, Modest, Caleb Wilson. We're going to switch a lot in that. Don't let Isaac Okoro or even Dailyn Swain be in some of those lineups. That's going to be a very switchable, big, tall, long lineup. And I think we're going to have that ability to do that, which also helps us hide Josh Giddey some on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I think that happens. As long as that, we'll be fine. As far as fans, I think fans do get locked into a perception on a player very early on based off very minuscule things, but that's what fan brain is. Like, that, when I say stuff like fan brain, that's the type of stuff I mean. It's going to happen. Should it happen? Probably not, but it's going to, and there's no real way to get it completely out the fan base. But that's it. That's going to do it for today's episode, though, y'all. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure you guys sound off down in the comment section how you feel about Norman Powell's comments, Caleb Wilson's development, any and all the voicemails as well. Don't be afraid to sound off on those. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of Breaks